What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Celio's Network. The expanded format of the Pokemon trading card game can be quite intimidating for newer players that are used to the standard format to enter into, and I've been getting a lot of requests to just go over all of the top decks, the meta game, explain some decks and why the cards are in there for the expanded format. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at the Limitless Online Series weekly number 14 from this past weekend. We'll look at the top 16 or 32 decks or so, and we'll go over most of the archetypes, talk about the cards in them and why those decks are played. And I'll also try to do my best to point out decks that are going to be easier for you to build if you are a standard format player with cards for the current standard format. Before we hop into this though, shout out to PotownStore.com, the best place for you to get PTCGO codes, and be sure to use code CELIO for 5% off. So we'll just start out with Pikachu Ram because that's what won Limitless Online Series weekly. And just before we do that, let's see how many people played in this. There were over 200 players in this, so pretty good tell of what is going to be played and what is going to be successful in the format. So Pikachu Ram has been doing very well in the expanded format, as it has also been doing very well in standard actually, but the reason why I think it has been able to succeed in expanded ever since Darkness Ablaze is because of Vikavolt V. So I think Vikavolt V is super important to the deck because Vikavolt V is just so great versus small single prize attackers, things like Mad Party and Mew from Fates Collide, which we will also take a look at today. Vikavolt is just so good because it can knock out those small Pokemon like Mew or the Mad Party attackers, or even in the past Night March, for 50 damage for 2 energy, and then you also lock your opponent from playing item cards next turn. So that's why it's so good, because these single prize attackers, the decks are typically built to need to reset up a new Pokemon every turn, search out your double colorless energy, search out your stadium maybe. And the way a lot of those decks do it is with something like Versus Seeker for teammates and play that, or Ultra Ball for Crobat, or Ultra Ball for Dedenne, Quick Ball for Dedenne, Versus Seeker for Guzmahala to get your special energy and your stadium card. And so a lot of these things are going to need to use items, whether that be for Versus Seeker or Computer Search or Quick Ball or Ultra Ball. The items are fairly important, although they're not the end goal, which the end goal is have a new attacker with an energy and possibly a stadium that you need. But Paralyzing Bolt stops the process if it involves items. So Vikavolt V, in my opinion, is one of the most important things about Pikachu Ram and why it's doing so well right now, because it fixes those single prize matchups for Pikachu Ram. Outside of that, Pikachu Ram is just an incredibly strong card, and it has all of its support available to it in the expanded format. We've got Thunder Mountain to make attacks cost 1 lightning less. We've got Electropower to do 30 more damage for our attacks. And of course, just like in the standard format, we have Cocoa Prism for energy acceleration. Another energy acceleration that's only in the expanded format for Pikachu Ram is Max Elixir. So Max Elixir is going to be a new card to you if you're newer to Pokemon and have only been playing standard. But Max Elixir allows you to look at the top 6 cards of your deck and attach a basic energy card you find there to a basic Pokemon on your bench. So this is super strong because you have so many ways to get the turn 1 full blitz with Pikachu Ram. You can attach, use Cocoa Prism, use Thunder Mountain. You could just attach and hit 2 Max Elixirs and not even need your Prism cards. So you'll notice only 1 energy switch because of Max Elixir. Energy switch is not as good as it is in standard. You might also notice that Raichu and Raichu Tag Team, it has been omitted from this list, and it is actually omitted from most expanded Pikachu Ram lists. That's because of Guzma. So Guzma is a supporter card from Burning Shadows. It's a gust effect in place of something like Boss or Lysander or Great Catcher. And Guzma reads, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with their active. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched. When Guzma came out, it kind of invalidated special conditions, and if every deck is running a Guzma or 2 and 3 or 4 Versus Seekers and Tapu Lele to get the Guzma, then Raichu's Paralysis is not very good if your opponent has this supporter card that not only brings up your Pokemon of their choosing, but also gets their Pokemon out of the paralysis lock. And then this list was also running 2 escape ropes. So you'll see these kinds of the Guzma, also Acerola and AZ being in the format, escape ropes being around to get out of stall and lock strategies. Paralysis is just not very good, so Raichu is typically not seen in these lists. Marshadow GX is a card that allows you to copy attacks of basic Pokemon in your discard pile. So it's kind of similar to Mewtwo and Mew. But this can copy any basic Pokemon attack in your discard pile, and Marshadow is fighting type, so you can hit other Pikachu Rams for weakness, you can hit Snorlax VMAX for weakness, you can hit Eternatus VMAX for weakness, some pretty important cards to try to one-shot, and Marshadow GX helps you out there. Clefairy hits ADP for weakness, so you could attach Coco, Max Elixir, then Metronome to use their Ultimate Ray, one-shot them and get 3 energy out of your deck. It's just kind of an insane card, and it really is something that keeps ADP in check in the expanded format, in addition to Pokemon Ranger, which this deck is not playing Pokemon Ranger. Just playing the Clefairy can typically suffice against ADP. The last card I guess I should mention here is Electros. Actually, 2 more cards I should mention, Electros being one of them. So Electros has the ability, mind you, it is a stage 2 Pokemon, but we do not play the previous evolutions. Electros has the ability Electric Swamp. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your hand and you have at least 4 lightning energy cards in play, you may play this Pokemon onto your bench. If you do, move any number of lightning energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. So this gets through cards that can't be attacked by GX and V like Decidueye, or cards that can't be attacked by basic Pokemon like Jolteon EX's Flash Ray, or cards that stop your basic Pokemon from attacking like Vileplume from Burning Shadows. We'll look at those cards as well. The last card I wanted to mention was Stealthy Hood, which is also here for Vileplume from Burning Shadows. So Vileplume from Burning Shadows reads, as long as this Pokemon is active, your opponent's basic Pokemon cannot attack. Well, Stealthy Hood prevents that ability from affecting your Pokemon. So if you have a Stealthy Hood down, you can still attack even if Vileplume is active. I believe I said Vileplume from Burning Shadows, but that is incorrect. Let's just go real quick and see which Vileplume it actually is. It might be from Lost Thunder? Let's see. Unbroken Bonds. Yeah, so nope, not the Vileplume in question. Oh, goodness me. Here we go. Is it Burning Shadows? Was I correct the first time? I was correct the first time. What do you know? The Vileplume with Disgusting Pollen. As long as this Pokemon is active, your opponent's basic Pokemon can't attack. I was right the first time. Should have trusted my instincts there. So that is our rundown on Pikachu Ram. It's going to be pretty easy for you to build if you already have Pikachu Ram in the current format. So you should have your Crobat already. You should have your Pikas, your Vikavolt, your Dedenne GX, your Tapu Koko Prism, Quick Balls, Professor Sycamore or Professor Research Work. You already have, let's see, Ultra Balls aren't hard to get. Most of these cards are not going to be very hard for you to get. Tapu Lele GX might be one of the difficult ones for you to find if you don't already have it. And computer search. Basically, get yourself a computer search or dowsing machine because you're going to want to put them in most of your expanded decks. Next, we'll look at Trashopult, which is Dragapult Garbodor. This one's pretty cool because it's not really like most expanded decks. Most expanded decks are pretty aggressive, or they are like lock style decks. Now this one's pretty mid-range, I would say. So it is kind of a Garbodor deck at the base of it all, but it's also pretty heavily reliant on Dragapult VMAX. So another deck that you're going to have some of the core cards for already if you play standard. You're going to have your Dragapult VMAXs, probably your Crobat Dedenne. The Professor Juniper can be Professor's Research, like I said. You'll have your Quick Ball Mysterious Treasures, your Horror Energy, your Chaotic Swells. And then the rest of the stuff to fill in, aside from the computer search, is not going to be very hard to find at all. So Dragapult VMAX, I'm sure you already know what it does, but we'll just take a quick look. 320 HP, Psychic type, Shred for 60, main attack is Max Phantom for 2 Psychic Energy, 130, and put 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. This is going to be really great versus some of those single prize decks we were talking about, like Mad Party and Bewbox. Also going to be pretty good against Mewtwo and Mew tag team decks that may pop up from time to time. Garbodor Garbotoxin is very strong because there are so many good abilities to use in the expanded format. And as long as you have a Pokemon tool attached, all abilities are turned off due to Garbodor. Now, the other Garbodor in this deck is extremely strong. You've probably heard of it even if you haven't been playing that long. This is Garbodor from Guardians Rising, and Trashopult does 20 damage for each item in your opponent's discard pile. Now, if we just quickly go back to that Pikachu Ram list we were looking at, you'll notice there are a fair amount of item cards in this deck. We got 4 Quick Ball, 4 Max Elixir, 4 Electric Power, 3 Versus Seeker, 3 Trainer's Mail, 2 Ultra Ball, 2 Escape Rope, Computer Search, Floatstone, Stealthy Hood, Energy Switch, Muscle Band. There are a lot of items, and items like Quick Ball, Max Elixir, Electric Power that are going to be played pretty early in terms of Quick Ball and Max Elixir, and then cards like Electric Power that your opponent either plays or they lose out on damage. So some cards that are arguably going to be played even if they're going to hurt the opponent, and some cards that also may be played irresponsibly that your opponent should not play. Either way, Garbodor's Trashopult can punish that. And so you're doing so many things with this deck. You're locking their abilities with Garbodor. You can also early lock their abilities on turn 0, having Wobbuffet active as long as this Pokemon is your active. Each Pokemon in play, hand, and discard pile has no abilities except for Psychic Pokemon, so you can still use Tapu Lele GX. So you can lock their abilities. You can either stop them from playing too many items or punish them when they do play too many items. And then Trashopult VMAX either cleans up kills that Trashopult Garbodor couldn't take, or it knocks out multiple Pokemon at a time against single prize decks. So this deck is doing a lot of things, and then we'll just go in and add 3 Enhanced Hammer. So we're also removing special energies, and special energies are pretty common in expanded format. So this is a really cool deck. I think it's one of the harder decks to play in expanded, but if you're interested in this and having so many options, I highly suggest you try it out and try to master it because it is a very good deck. Got 2nd place in this tournament. Next, we will look at Turbo Dark. Now, this Turbo Dark, I believe, is the less popular variant. It includes ADP and 4 Double Dragon Energy. So Double Dragon Energy, definitely a card you want to know that exists in the expanded format. It can only be attached to Dragon Pokemon, and it provides 2 energy of any kind at a time. So it's basically a double Rainbow Energy, but only for Dragons. So on turn 1, you slap it on the ADP, use Alter Creation, boom, your attacks are doing 30 more for the rest of the game, and your Pokemon that take knockouts with damage are taking 1 extra prize card. And then from there, you can either use Ultimate Ray, or you can Max Elixir and Dark Patch and get energy down, and then you start swinging with Dark Pulse. This attack does 30 more damage times the amount of energy, Dark Energy, attached to all of your Pokemon. And Double Dragon on ADP does count as 2, so you're going to rack up damage really quickly with Greninja and Zoroark tag team. Darkrai GX recurs itself and brings an energy with it with its ability Restoration. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it onto your bench, then attach a Dark Energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. And then Ultra Necrozma is pretty cool. There's also an Ultra Necrozma deck built solely around this card, but its ability stops it from attacking unless your opponent has 2 or fewer prize cards remaining. So once they knock out like a tag team and a support Pokemon, you can bring out Ultra Necrozma. Or if your opponent has turned off abilities, you can just use Ultra Necrozma whenever you want. And for a Double Dragon Energy, it does 170. If you've already used Alter Creation, it does 200, and it takes an extra prize card. How sick is that on a single prize Pokemon for just a single energy attachment? So this Turbo Dark deck, very, very aggressive. And we'll take a quick look at the Turbo Dark deck that does not play ADP. I believe this list is not playing ADP. Yes, I am correct. So this one is just solely Turbo Dark all the time. We got our 4 Max Elixir, 4 Dark Patch, our Greninja Zoroark as our main attacker, Darkrai EX to give free retreat, Darkrai GX to come back with an energy attached to it, Darkrai Prism, which is a card that does not see a lot of play. When you play this from your hand to your bench, you may attach 2 Dark Energy from your hand to it. And then Mewtwo and Mew to copy Greninja Zoroark's attacks And also, we have a Hypnotoxic Laser. That Hypnotoxic Laser is because of Darkrai GX's GX attack, actually. So Dead-End GX for Dark Colorless. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, that Pokemon is knocked out. Boom, gone, dunzos. So 3 energy, Hypnotoxic Laser, knock out the Pokemon. No questions asked. Let's look at Colossal VMAX next. So I may have mentioned Marshadow GX is in Pikachu Ram because a lot of Pokemon are fighting weak. Well, why not just play a fighting type Pokemon? Here we've got Colossal VMAX. This deck is based around the Eruption Shot attack on Colossal VMAX. So for a fighting energy, you do 40 damage plus discard the top card of your deck. If that card is an energy card, this attack does 90 more damage, and attach that card to this Pokemon, so 130 damage. Fighting has 2 very good special energies at its disposal. The newer Stone Energy, which reduces incoming damage by 20 to your fighting Pokemon, and then also Strong Energy, which allows your fighting Pokemon to do 20 more damage. And you can attach either of these with the Eruption Shot attack. So what you want to do is you use Magcargo's Smooth Over to either get you a card you need or set energy on top. Now you can get a card you need, let's say like Colossal VMAX, to the top of the deck. You can use Aranguru's Primate Wisdom to replace that card with a special energy or any energy of the sort to the top of the deck. You just got your Colossal VMAX. Now we evolve it, we use Eruption Shot, discard the top card of the deck, do extra energy, accelerate, bing bang boom, and you get the rest. This deck is very, very good with healing. So you can just chain your Colossal VMAXs essentially with something like Acerola. Acerola allows you to pick up any of your Pokemon that have damage counters on it. So if you have a Colossal VMAX in the active and a Colossal on the bench, you can attack with Eruption Shot, you take a hit, you smooth over Acerola to the top, replace it with an energy, you Acerola the active, you put out the new Colossal, and you just keep chaining Eruption Shots with Acerola. So it's very, very strong for that reason. Also because Colossal VMAX hits Pikachu Ram, Snorlax VMAX, Eternatus, Crobat, the Dene, so many things for weakness. So this deck is just basically swing with Colossal VMAX, heal it when you can, take easy knockouts because of weakness. Then there's also the Galarian Surfetched V in this particular list, just to get around something like Zamazenta maybe, and swing with a 2-prize Pokemon. So Meteor Smash does 200 damage. When Surfetched comes into the active, you can move any energy from your other Pokemon to Galarian Surfetched V. So Colossal VMAX, actually one of my top picks for expanded right now. Next we have just regular Olization without ADP. So this list was, I'm not sure if this is the exact list. No, it's not the exact list, but this variant of just playing Zacian with no ADP, I believe was popularized by Robin Schultz. So you have the 4 Metal Saucer and 4 Max Elixir, so you can get Zacian pretty regularly attacking on turn 1. You do extra damage with Delmise, which makes your metal Pokemon do 10 more damage. Then you have Choice Band to do 30 more damage, and you have Shrine of Punishment to tick damage on EX and GX Pokemon between every turn. You have Aegislash VMAX, which can actually be a really great finisher for the deck. It does 160 plus 30 more for each prize card you've taken. And this is a good way to play Zacian without ADP, especially because ADP can be countered like we were talking about. It can be countered by that Clefairy that we saw in the Pikachu Ram deck. It can be also countered by Pokemon Ranger. Pokemon Ranger removes all effects of attacks on each player and their Pokemon. So this removes things like Seismitoad and Vikavolt's Item Lock. It removes things like Exeggutor's Supporter Lock with Blockade. A card you probably won't see very often. A card that it removes Special Energy Lock from something like Noivern GX. And it removes Altered Creations effect for the rest of the game. So why play ADP and risk your opponent using Clefairy or Pokemon Ranger to really throw your game off on the following turn when you could just play straight Zacian, and that's what a lot of people have been doing. This Aegis/EX, if you're playing a special energy reliant deck, probably have something to deal with it. The ability Mighty Shield, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from each of your opponent's Pokemon that has special energy attached to it. So in something like Mew Box, I play Lugia GX to Lost Zone it. In Dragapult, you already have outs to it. In Pikachu Ram, you have outs to it. But if you're playing only special energy, consider having an out to that Aegis/EX. Let's look at what we're gonna go to next. Next, we'll look at Shocklock, I believe this would be. Yes, this is Shocklock. So, Shocklock, how could I explain this the best? Shocklock is going to use Stoutland for its ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent can't play any supporter cards. So they lock you from playing supporters with the ability Sentinel. They use Memory Energy, which allows you to use the attacks of your previous evolutions to use Pickup every turn, put an item card from your discard pile into your hand. I think I'm kind of reverse engineering this in the way I'm explaining it. Pickup is going to get, let's see, what are we getting? We're getting Scoop Up Net with Pickup every turn. So Scoop Up Net, you should know what it does. Put one of your Pokemon that's not a V or GX from in play into your hand. And that Pickup is going to pick up Raichu. So Raichu reads, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon paralyzed. So, Shocklock. You're shocking them with paralysis and then using Sentinel to stop them from playing one of those supporter cards I mentioned. There's a reason why special conditions are so bad and expanded. So if Sentinel's there, they can't play AZ, they can't play Acerola, they can't play Guzma. They can't remove the paralysis. That's why some decks you'll see are playing a couple copies or even one copy of Escape Rope to get out of this lock that Shocklock applies. So the whole plan is you paralyze them with Raichu, you scoop up the Raichu, you put back down Pikachu, you have Stoutland in the active so they can't play supporters, you use Pickup to get back that Scoop Up Net, and you just chain that every single turn until your opponent decks out. This Goodra, I should mention, is there so your opponent can't attach tools to Garbatoxin to turn off Sentinel. And Alolan Muck stops things like Wobbuffet from turning off Sentinel. So yep, that's Shocklock. They just want to deck you out and make you paralyzed the whole game. It's seen a fair amount of success and expanded over the years. Did any stall decks do well? Because I definitely want to show off a stall deck. Yeah, let's look at this one. Or a control or whatever this might be, because you definitely want to know about control and stall if you're playing expanded. So there's a lot of options in here to control, stall, and mill your opponent. So control, stall, and mill, they all want to play the game until their opponent scoops or does not have a deck left. So this does have some walling options. If your opponent is only playing VMAX attackers like Colossal Vmax, you can just put a Zamazenta V in the active and there's the game. If they've already evolved their Colossals into Colossal VMAX and they can't, you don't damage them so they can't Acerola, you won the game if they don't have anything to attack with. You can also just remove their energy as you go while they're trying to build up a Colossal V. You can remove their energy with things like Faba and Team Flare Grunt. And Plumeria. Now another walling option is Hoopa. Hoopa has been popular, has seen some popularity and success over its time in the game. It's not too old from Shining Legends, but its ability Scoundrel Guard says prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon by your opponent's GX and EX. So if your opponent only has GX and EX, boom, Hoopa, they're walled out of the game. And the next wall, and I think the last wall we have, no, we have one other. So one of the other walls we have in this deck is Pyroar. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's basic Pokemon. So if your opponent only has basic Pokemon, we got Pyroar for that. And then Latias EX, I believe. Yeah, so Latias EX is the last wall. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon with abilities. So if your opponent only has attackers with abilities, Latias EX, it walls them out. So those are all of the walling options. Then to get rid of resources, you have Lucario Melmetal with Full Metal Wall GX to discard all energy on the active Pokemon. You also have Lugia GX to Lost Zone the opponent's Pokemon. So you can just go DCE, Counter Gain, Lost Purge, and their Pokemon of your choosing, or the Pokemon in the active spot, which, you know, you could just gust up one if you need to, but something like Counter Catcher, sent to the Lost Zone, so they lose that Pokemon and all the cards attached to it. Durant's Chip Off randomly discards cards from your opponent's hand until they have 4. So if they're just sitting there, draw, passing, you can just chip off to discard most of their hand. Bumblebee can mill your opponent or get your own resources back, and it has the Barrage Alpha trait or Omega trait. Ancient trait. There we go. The Barrage Ancient trait. This Pokemon may attack twice a turn. So you can either Burrow and Rototiller, or you could do one of them twice. So Bumblebee is a really, really strong card for these kind of archetypes. Get Lost Girafarig can put 2 cards from your opponent's discard into their Lost Zone. Then we have Tropical Beach for drawing. We have Lily's Polka Doll, so you could just send up a doll and make them hit that. We have Sudowoodo and Counter Energy to take out a big threat if we need to. You can honestly just beat things like Pikachu Ram and Snorlax VMAX by taking all of your prizes. And Snorlax, we should definitely mention Snorlax. So Snorlax's block, these kind of things are really good and expanded in online events, because you can see your opponent's deck list to see if they have an out to it. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat. So if they're not playing something like AZ or Escape Rope, you'll know that they can't get that Pokemon out of there, so you can just like gust up a Dedenne, put Snorlax out there, have nothing on the bench, they can't Guzma around the Snorlax and bring something else up, and you win the game that way. Trick Shovel can discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Below Braceman mills 3 from both of your decks. Teammate searches for any 2 cards. So this is pretty much a really good amalgamation of a lot of cards you'll see in control, wall, stall, mill type decks. So if you want to become more familiar, I suggest definitely taking a look at this list and maybe reading some of the cards that I didn't explain if you don't know what they do, if you want to be familiar with the control archetypes of Expanded. We'll take a look at a few more decks here, since I'm definitely giving you guys a lot of information to take in all at once if you're new to Expanded. Also, let me know if you're liking this type of video to get more acclimated with the Expanded format, because I do think it's a really great format. So this next deck is Roxy Chomp. This was actually made by a group of players I was a part of for Dallas Regionals. It was Team Gas and Team Cutter Tap made this deck kind of together, and Cutter Tap member Hunter Butler won Dallas Regionals with it. Of course, it's changed slightly since then because new cards like Zigzagoon and Scoop Up Net have come out, but the core is still there. So this deck focuses on using Roxy or Zigzagoon or both, excuse me, to spread damage around with Coughing or Galarian Zigzagoon's Headbutt Tantrum. And then you use Garchomp and Giratina Tag Team for its Calamitous Slash attack. So you attach a double Dragon Energy and use Cocoa Prism to attach a Lightning, and you can Calamitous Slash on turn 1 for 240 damage, as long as your opponent's active Pokemon already has damage. So that's where Roxy comes in. Roxy, discard up to two Pokemon from your hand that are not GX or EX, and that Pokemon you would like for it to be Coughing with Blowaway Bomb that spreads damage when it's discarded with Roxy. But you can also use Execute. So Execute is a really strong utility card in Expanded. It has the propagation. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put this Pokemon into your hand. So you can just grab 2 from your discard pile, use Ultra Ball, grab them back again, use Ultra Ball, and you just always have these free cards to pitch for effects like Ultra Ball or Roxy or Quick Ball. So Garchomp Giratina is going to be your main attacker to use Calamitous Slash. Also has the GG End. If you attach 2 double Dragon Energies, you can discard one of your opponent's Pokemon from play, so that's really neat. You have the Noivern GX. This is there as like a counter to things like Pyroar that can't be hit by basic Pokemon, but it's also really good to just lock your opponent out of the game if they're reliant on special energies and they have no answer to Noivern. So Sonic Volume for 120, your opponent can't play any special energy cards from their hand next turn. Distort 50, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand during their next turn. Naganadel Guzzlord Tag Team GX has the Chaotic Order GX attack, so if you have the Lightning Energy plus a double Dragon Energy, you get to take 2 prize cards. That's it. Just take 2 prize cards. Really good. It's also solid versus single prize decks that aren't doing a ton of damage or one-shotting you, because you can heal 60 damage from Naganadel Guzzlord Tag Team by just discarding a Pokemon from your hand. So if your opponent's like trying to set up a knockout, you can just heal it with Violent Appetite. But the Chaotic Order GX is really good to close out a game. You just take 2 prize cards. Simple as that. Like I said, Double Dragon Energy is a card you'll want to know about in the expanded format. Battle Compressor, actually a card we didn't look at yet, I don't think, but it allows you to search your deck for up to 3 cards and discard them. Really strong for a deck like this that wants to get your Executes into the discard pile, a Lightning Energy for Tapu Koko Prism into the discard pile. It also plays 4 Versus Seeker and not a lot of supporters, so you can battle compress the supporter you want into the discard pile, then Versus Seeker it out, which is a common strategy in the expanded format. We'll look at a deck that actually really utilizes Battle Compressor next. Mad Party, and this one was piloted by Azul GG. So decks like this are going to run 4 Battle Compressor, because Mad Party, as you probably know from Standard already, does 20 damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile that has the Mad Party attack. Battle Compressor allows you to just get those Pokemon and toss them into the discard pile, and it's really easy to just start racking up the damage turn 1. You also have Marshadow GX in here to copy the Mad Partier's attacks, so that's really nice. Pokemon Ranger to stop things like Noivern from locking you out of energy, or ADP from taking extra prize cards. And outside of that, this deck is pretty simple and straightforward, and honestly another great candidate to build if you want to try out expanded format. Very aggressive, fairly linear, but it does have options to get around some of its counters with Pokemon Ranger. Also, you have Target Whistle. So this is a really neat card. Put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench, so you can just kill a Dedenne, Target Whistle it back onto the bench, great catcher to Dedenne, boom, kill it again. So just take easy 2 prize after 2 prize after 2 prize with a deck with Target Whistle in it. Let's find Snorlax VMAX, because this is a deck I also mentioned. This one was piloted by Josh from Team Fish Knuckles. So the Snorlax VMAX decks play Skyfield, so you can have a maximum bench size of 8 Pokemon. Each player can when that stadium's in play. And you fill your bench with cards like Chinchino that allows you to draw cards, and Alolan Muck that shuts off basic abilities. And other Snorlax VMAXs, because Snorlax VMAX for a triple excel does 60 plus 30 damage for each of your benched Pokemon. So if you have a full bench of 8, Gmax Fall is doing 300 damage. And then do we have any damage accelerators for that? No, so we're just doing 300 damage, just 300 damage every turn. But yeah, 300 damage, super solid for just a single energy attachment. More than solid, that's actually nuts. Winona is a very cool supporter card that you won't see played a lot, but it is good for this deck because you can search your deck for any 3 colorless Pokemon. So that includes the Snorlax line and the Chinchino line, and of course also Ditto Prism that can evolve into Chinchino or Alolan Muck. Let's see, we'll try to get everything in here. Eggrowl is an important one that we did not cover yet. It hasn't been doing as well in the past weeks, but it was doing very well when people started playing Expanded again online. This is kind of a lock-ish control deck, but it can also definitely win by, you know, it wins by taking prizes typically, but sometimes your opponent will scoop if they just don't have an out to it. So it can lock your opponent with the Disgusting Pollen Vileplume that doesn't allow basic Pokemon to attack. It can also lock your opponent with Decidueye, which is a card known in standard format, but pretty good in expanded if your opponent isn't prepared for it. Just lock V and GX's out from attacking. Eggrowl, of course, allows you to evolve up to these Pokemon, and then when you are just attacking in a game, you'll be usually attacking with Eggrowl's Calming Hurricane. And the other stage 2 you can evolve up to, but super growth, is Vileplume's Irritating Pollen. Each player can't play item cards from their hand. So you'll notice this deck is not reliant on items because of that. So it's very cool to see decks like this because the deck is built so much differently. There are no Versus Seekers. There's only 7 items in the entire deck: the Tag Call, Computer Search, and Stealthy Hood. Other than that, it's all supporters, because you're fine with just playing a slower game because you're slowing down your opponent with Irritating Pollen or one of your locking stage 2s. I don't believe we looked at Ultra Necrozma either, so let's find one of those. Here we go, Ultra Necrozma Garbodor. So this is a pretty straightforward deck as well, also very easy to build, and this one's even playing Lifedude, which is a cheaper A-spec to find online than Computer Search and Dowsing Machine are. So this deck aims to turn on Garbotoxin or have out a Silent Lab, so your Ultra Necrozma's Ultra Burst ability is shut off so you can actually attack all the time. And then from there, you're just using a double Dragon Energy every turn to use Luster of Downfall for 170 and discard an energy. And you're just swinging with this single prizer every turn if possible. At least that is the goal of the deck. And from there, this deck is super linear, but also easy to build and easy to play if you're looking to hop into the expanded format. I keep saying, oh, you know, I think we're almost done. This is the last deck. One more deck. Mewcram. So Mewcram's a personal favorite of mine. I've covered it on this channel before, and I've also played it in some expanded tournaments. But here is a Mewcram deck. So Mew from Fates Collide has the Memories of Dawn ability. This Pokemon can use the attacks of any of your basic Pokemon in play. So you put really strong Pokemon like Cramorant and Double and Seismitoad EX into play, and you either item lock or you snipe their bench or use Double to do a lot of damage. And Cramorant and Double and Seismitoad EX are probably going to be cards you're already familiar with. You use Tabu Koko Prism to power up the non-Mew attackers like Cramorant, Double, Clefairy, and then Mew, you only need a DCE or a Twin Energy to copy these 3 energy attacks because you have Dimension Valley, which reads each Psychic Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colorless less. And in the expanded format, things like Chaotic Swell don't really shut down Stadium-reliant decks because you have Field Blower as opposed to Tool Scrapper, which can remove Pokemon Tool cards and Stadium cards in play. So this is going to be used to remove Garbotoxin, Floatstones, and used to remove Chaotic Swells. It does play the Telescopic Sight, so Cramorant V can do 190, and then it plays the Stealthy Hood, so you can attack even if Vileplume's active, or you can attack even if a Lone Muck is out trying to stop your ability. Stealthy Hood stops those abilities from affecting you in that way. I think we're going to end this expanded format like deep dive there, but I wanted to make this video because I have been having a lot of people request it. So if I did not touch on enough expanded decks in this, please let me know. And if you have any suggestions on other content you want to see, whether it be expanded format or not, please let me know. And I hope you did enjoy this video. Of course, check out PotownStore.com for all of your PTCGO needs and use code CELIO for 5% off. Like and comment on the video and subscribe to this channel if you have not already for daily Pokemon TCG content. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.